Well, it looks like it's time to answer some questions. Hi everybody, I'm Brix. Welcome to my channel. If you're here, you are either one of my close friends and family, someone that they've recommended this channel to, or you're someone who's found my channel on your own. Regardless of the reason, thank you. I'm glad that you're here. If you haven't already done so, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel. If you're someone who'd like to be notified of new content as it's available, hit the notification button. And please feel free to leave comments. I do appreciate comments, and I do respond to every comment that I receive. So undoubtedly by now, some of you may have some questions. Questions such as, who the heck is Brix? Or why am I attempting to thru-hike the Appalachian Trail in 2022? Or even, how did I get my trail name of Brix? So today I'd like to answer these three questions. If you'd like to skip ahead to the answers to each of these questions, I've left a timestamp in the description below to where you can fast forward to these answers. So that being said, let's get started. So first question, who the heck am I? I am a husband, I'm a father, I'm a retired Army veteran, I'm an outdoor enthusiast, I'm a sportsman, and I'm someone who's legitimately enthralled in hiking, the outdoors, and backpacking. I grew up learning to love hiking as a teenager in Kentucky, where I would often spend my summers hiking in the Red River Gorge area with family. I was an outdoors kid growing up, hunting and fishing. And it wasn't until later in life that this blossomed into a greater love of the outdoors and a love of backpacking. At the age of 20, I joined the Army, and that is where my love of hiking developed into an extreme joy of backpacking. I learned in the Army to backpack. Some could say against my will as part of my Army training. We called it rucking. But in the Army, I learned to live in the outdoors by what I carried on my back, often in rugged conditions. And so my military career afforded me the opportunity to backpack in many ways as part of my Army training, but that joy and love developed into backpacking on my own. My travels in the military afforded me the opportunities to do this in the Pacific Northwest, in the Midwest, in portions of Central America, in portions of Europe, and it is something that I have carried with me throughout my life. So why am I attempting to thru-hike the Appalachian Trail in 2022? My desire to thru-hike the Appalachian Trail is not a spur-of-the-moment decision. It has been literally a lifelong goal. At the early age, in my early 20s, I would say, in the Pacific Northwest, in a bookstore, I happened to pick up a book about thru-hiking the Appalachian Trail. And just the thought of doing something that I enjoyed and being lost in that experience resonated with me. And I always told myself someday I would thru-hike the Appalachian Trail. I first wanted to do this in 2011 when I retired from the Army, but the timing wasn't right. I was a single father at the time, had two young daughters that needed their father at home, and quite honestly, I was absent too much of their life because of my military service that took me away from my family quite often and for a large portion of their early lives. So I continued to tell myself the timing wasn't right, and someday I would thru-hike the Appalachian Trail. Since then, I've remarried. We have a combined family. I transitioned into my current career. I have continuously told myself that someday I would thru-hike the Appalachian Trail. And then about 2 years ago, it occurred to me that someday is now. Someday is an excuse that we give ourselves to push our dreams further down the road. And realizing that I could no longer risk pushing my goal down the road, and that if I were actually going to realize my dream, I had to commit. And so 2 years ago, with the support of my family, first and foremost my wife, I began planning for this eventual through hike, which I will undertake starting in February, where I will start at the Approach Trail in Amicalola Falls, and I will hike northbound all the way to Mount Katahdin in Maine. So how did I get my trail name of Bricks? I'm someone who firmly believes that nicknames are earned, not given, especially trail names. So early on in my planning for my attempted through hike, as I was discussing it with my wife, Christy, whose trail name is Twinkle, she asked if she could give me my trail name. And immediately the answer was yes. My wife is my dearest friend, my dearest companion, and she knows me like no other on this earth. And so I could think of no one more fitting to come up with an appropriate trail name for me. And so how did I get my trail name? I think it would be more fitting if my wife could explain herself on how she came up with it. So that being said, please allow me to introduce my wife, Christy, otherwise known as Twinkle.
Hi everybody, I'm Christy, also known as Twinkle. Before I tell you how Gene got his trail name, let me give you a little bit of a backstory. When I was a child, I was terrified of tornadoes. I had never been in a tornado before, but it was just a very real fear I had as a kid. My mom would always say to me, "It's okay, honey, don't worry. Your dad built our house out of bricks. It's strong and it's safe and you have nothing to worry about." So I always found that as a source of comfort. As I grew up, I always knew I'd have a house made out of bricks. Maybe subconsciously, I was looking for that same sense of security that I found inside of my home as a child. So fast forward to now. I wanted to give Gene his trail name, mainly because I wanted him to have a little piece of me with him while he was living out his dream on the Appalachian Trail. I had a few names picked out that fit, but really didn't encompass him fully. So I just kind of started to ponder the man that he is, and what he means to me. He's strong, both physically and mentally. He's determined. He's solid. He built his life brick by brick. Nothing was ever handed to him, from his childhood to his 20-year military career to being a successful businessman. He has truly worked hard and sacrificed his entire life. Gene and I met later in life, at a time when a sense of security was lacking for me. What I saw in him was a solid foundation. He's by nature a loving provider and a protector. So it only felt fitting that his trail name should be Bricks, to describe a strong, self-made, dedicated man that loves his family, his friends, and his country.
So there you have it. I hope this answers some of the questions that you may have, particularly a little bit about myself and my motivations for why I intend to thru-hike the Appalachian Trail in 2022. Undoubtedly, you may have additional questions. So if you do, please feel free to leave those in the comments below. I do respond to all comments. However, that doesn't mean I'll answer all of your questions. I guess that'll depend on which questions you ask. I look forward to sharing my other thoughts with you and continuing to share my journey with you in the upcoming months and all throughout my through hike. So please do subscribe if you haven't already done so. Again, if you'd like to be notified of the updated content or new content as it comes out, hit the notifications button. Until next time, thanks for being with me. I'm Bricks.